How many diets have you tried? How many plans followed, rules memorized, programs started and ended with the familiar feeling that somehow you were the one who failed? Here's what I want to say to you before we go any further. You did not fail the diet. The diet failed you. I'm Mary Jane, and today on the Tending Hour, we are putting down every map that was never drawn for your body and beginning to find your own. This is nourishment on your own terms, and it is going to sound different from anything you have heard before on this topic. You are someone who is trying to live well, someone who senses that real wellness goes deeper than what you eat or how often you move, that it lives in the stories you carry, the emotions you navigate, the relationships you cultivate, and the body you have been living in all along. The Tending Hour is a podcast about what it means to tend to the whole of who you are across all three dimensions of your life: spiritual, physical, and relational. I'm Mary Jane, integrative health and wellness coach, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, and founder of Trilateral Transformation. Each season, we explore a different territory of the whole person life. Each episode, we go there across all three dimensions, slowing down, looking honestly at what is happening beneath the surface, and practicing together the kind of care that a whole person deserves. No quick fixes, no performance, just real, honest, whole person tending. At trilateraltransformation.com, there is a companion workbook available for every season, a self-guided reflection space designed to help you process what each episode stirs, go deeper with the guided prompts, and carry the season's work into the texture of your actual life. Wherever you are starting, you are in the right place. And whatever you are carrying, there is room for it here. This is the Tending Hour, and you were made for this kind of tending. Welcome back to the Tending Hour. Today, I want to talk about something that almost everyone has a complicated relationship with, regardless of whether they know it. Today, we talk about food. Not food as a set of rules to follow or macros to track or plans to succeed or fail at. Not food as the enemy, the comfort, the reward, or the punishment. Not food through the lens of every diet culture message that you have absorbed since you were old enough to understand that your body was apparently something that needed to be managed. Today, we talk about food as nourishment, as relationship, as one of the most intimate and personal acts of self-care available to us, and one of the most misunderstood. I promise you, this is going to sound different from anything you have heard before on this topic, because we are not here to give you another plan. We are here to help you find your own. I want to start with a number. Do you know how many diets the average person in diet culture will attempt in their lifetime? Studies suggest it is somewhere between 10 and 20. Some people far more. Most of them ending not in the body or life that the person was promised, but in the familiar, devastating experience of having followed the rules and still somehow failed. Except, here's the thing. What if you did not fail the diet? What if the diet failed you? Because diets, almost universally, are designed for a hypothetical average person. They do not know your history. They do not know your nervous system, your sleep patterns, your emotional landscape, your cultural relationship with food, the particular rhythms of your metabolism, the time of day your appetite actually comes alive, or the conditions under which your body can genuinely receive nourishment. They do not know you, and yet we have spent decades measuring our worth against their outcomes. What if the problem was never your discipline? What if the problem was always that you are being handed someone else's map and asked to navigate your own life with it? What if the most radical, most effective, most genuinely nourishing thing you could do is to put that map down and start drawing your own? That is what this episode is about. Let's talk about what nourishment actually requires, because the science is far more nuanced and far more forgiving than diet culture has ever let on. The science of nutrition has been quietly arriving at a conclusion that those of us working in integrative wellness have understood for some time. There is no single optimal diet for all humans. There are principles, there are patterns, but the application of those principles looks genuinely different from body to body, from life to life, from season to season within the same person. Your body is not a standard issue model. It is a specific, particular, deeply individual biological system shaped by your genetics, your microbiome, your history, your stress patterns, your sleep, your emotional life, and 100 other variables that no meal plan has ever accounted for. There is something called the gut-brain axis. That's a two-way communication highway between your digestive system and your nervous system. And what this means practically is something profound. The conditions under which you eat are not separate from the nutrition of what you eat. They are a part of it. So eating while stressed, distracted, rushed, or in emotional distress changes how your body processes food at a physiological level. Your digestive system needs the same thing your nervous system needs, safety, in order to function optimally, which means that a meal eaten slowly, in soft light, in a state of relative calm, may nourish you more completely than the same meal eaten standing over your kitchen counter between tasks. I have learned this in my own body. My most nourishing meals happen in the evening, in quieter light, when the day has slowed and my nervous system has settled and my body is finally ready to receive. For years, I tried to override this, to be someone who ate the important meal at midday, who followed the conventional wisdom about timing. My body kept returning to its own truth, and the moment I honored that truth rather than fighting it, everything shifted. Not just how I felt physically, but my entire relationship with food, with my body, with the act of feeding myself as something worthy of care and attention. Your body has its own truth about nourishment. Learning to hear it, really hear it, beneath the noise of all the rules you've collected, is the work of this episode. Nourishment, real nourishment, is not just physical. It moves through all three dimensions of who you are. And understanding that changes not just how you eat, but how you understand what your body is asking for in the first place. Food has always been spiritual. Long before macronutrients and caloric science, human beings understood eating as a sacred act, as gratitude, as community, as a physical expression of being alive and sustained by something larger than ourselves. Somewhere in the translation to modern nutrition culture, we lost that. We reduced the act of eating, this ancient, communal, deeply human practice, to numbers and rules and measurements. And in doing so, we severed something, not just from our relationship with food, but from our relationship with our own bodies, our own lives, our own sense of being held and sustained. Spiritual nourishment asks a different set of questions. Not just what am I eating, but why am I eating this? Not just how much, but what does this meal mean to me? Not just is this healthy, but does this nourish something beyond the physical? It means bringing presence to the act of eating. Gratitude when that feels authentic and not as a performance, but as a genuine moment of contact with the fact that you are here, alive, being fed. It means honoring the cultural and ancestral relationships with food that live in your history, the dishes that carry memory and meaning, the flavors that speak a language older than nutrition science. Spiritual nourishment is the practice of making eating, at least sometimes, an act of reverence, of recognizing that feeding yourself well is not a luxury or a discipline. It's a form of love. Now, this is where we get to do something unusual in a wellness conversation about food. We get personal. Not personal as in a confessional, personal as in specific, as in your body, your rhythms, your genuine lived experience of what feels nourishing versus what simply follows the rules. There are some questions I want to invite you to sit with, not to answer immediately, but to carry with you and let your body respond to over time. When during the day does your appetite feel most genuine, most like real hunger, rather than habitual eating or emotional eating, or eating because it's the time you're supposed to? What foods leave you feeling genuinely energized and clear, not just immediately after eating, but an hour or two later? And which ones, if you're honest, leave you feeling heavier or foggier or less yourself, regardless of what the nutrition label says? What are the conditions under which you eat most peacefully, most presently, most able to actually taste and receive what you're eating? And perhaps most importantly, what has your body been trying to tell you about nourishment that you've been overriding in service of someone else's plan? Your body is sending signals constantly about hunger, about fullness, about what it needs and when. Learning to receive those signals clearly is called interoception, and it is a skill, one that most of us were never taught, and that diet culture actively works against by replacing our internal signals with external rules. Rebuilding that internal signal, learning to trust your body's own wisdom about what and when and how much is not a fast process, but it is one of the most liberating journeys available to you. Because on the other side of it is a relationship with food that does not require willpower, it requires only listening. Food is one of the most relational things we do as human beings. We celebrate with it, we grieve with it, we show love with it, we gather around it. We carry our cultures and our childhoods and our most tender memories inside it. The smell of something cooking can return us to a kitchen, a person, a moment of belonging that we have carried inside us for decades. Our relationship with food is always, in part, a relational story, which means that healing our relationship with nourishment sometimes requires looking honestly at the relational dimensions of how we eat. Who taught you what food meant? What messages did you absorb from family, from culture, from the people who fed you, and the ones who commented on how you ate, about what your eating said about you? Some of us were fed love through food and now reach for it when we need comfort, not because something is wrong with us, but because our nervous system learned that connection. Some of us were given messages about our bodies and our appetites that were never true and never ours to carry. Some of us learned to eat in secret, or to perform eating, or to use food as the one arena where we felt some sense of control. None of this is failure. All of it is human, and all of it deserves the same compassion and curiosity we bring to every other dimension of this work. Relational nourishment also means the joy of sharing food, of meals that are about connection more than nutrition, of the table as a place where belonging is practiced and where you are allowed to be fed, not just to feed. Nourishing your relational world through food means asking, are there ways I could make eating more connective, more present, more an expression of care for myself and for the people I share my life with? The practice I want to offer you today is called the Nourishment Inquiry, and it is less a thing you do at meal times, though you can bring it there, and more a way of beginning to listen differently to what your body is actually asking for. For the next week, I want to invite you to bring curiosity to just one meal each day. Not judgment, not analysis, just genuine, open curiosity. Before you eat, pause for just a moment and ask, what does my body actually want right now? Not what should I eat, not what is allowed. What does my body, this specific body in this specific moment, genuinely want? While you eat, notice, what does this taste like? What does it feel like in my body? Am I present with this, or am I somewhere else entirely? After you eat, check in. Not to grade the meal, not to calculate whether you made the right choices, but simply to notice. How do I feel? Energized or heavy? Clear or foggy? Satisfied or still reaching for something? And if so, is what I'm reaching for actually food? That last question is one of the most important questions in the entire conversation about nourishment, because sometimes hunger is physical, and sometimes it is emotional, and sometimes it is spiritual, a reaching for meaning or comfort or connection that food can temporarily soothe but never actually fill. Learning to tell the difference with gentleness and without shame is not a discipline. It is a form of self-knowledge. And self-knowledge in every dimension is the foundation of everything we are building here. In phase 2 of the Trilateral Transformation Program, Integrate, we spend a total of 3 weeks inside the theme of nourishment. And what we do in those weeks goes so much deeper than any podcast episode can hold. We look at your specific relationship with food, where it came from, what it has cost you, and what it could become. If today opened something for you, if you felt even a small loosening of the grip that food rules have had on you, there is so much more available. The link is in the show notes. I want to leave you with something today that I mean with my whole heart. You were never failing at nourishment. You were following instructions written for someone else's body in someone else's life by people who never knew you. The version of nourishment that is actually yours, that fits your rhythms, honors your history, works with your nervous system, and brings genuine pleasure and ease to the act of feeding yourself, that version exists. It's not a fantasy or a privilege available only to people with more time or more willpower. It is available to you right now in the body you actually have, in the life you are actually living. It begins with the willingness to put down the map that was never yours and trust, just a little, just enough, that your own body knows the way. In our next episode, we complete the teaching arc of phase 2 with something that quietly shapes everything else we do, our beliefs. The invisible stories we carry about ourselves, about our worth, about what we're allowed to have and be and feel. I cannot wait to explore that with you. I'll see you then. Until next time, tend to all of you.